What is going on? Welcome back. I have it wrong in the top. Dang it. Episode 72 of the Third and 20 podcast. I have the episode titled wrong in the top left, but we got Mr. Steed. Steed, congratulations. The
Man,
Braves, they won the World Series. You won your bet. How are you feeling about the whole thing?
dude, it feels great. I honestly, it just, it's nice to actually be a champion. Finally see your team be on top of the world and go along with the ride with it. And, at the same time, something the city of Atlanta's been dying for. We've been there and also having a little bit of money on them, little 300 win 4,200 is always a little nice in the pocket.
Yeah,
So,
that's huge. That's great. So, who are you taking for the Super Bowl again?
I don't Dude, it was something. I woke up really hammered in Vegas. I had $300 in cash, and I said, you know what, screw it. The Braves are win the World Series this year, and just went down there at the kiosk, put it in, been riding the bet since, and it hit.
No hedging either. No hedging.
Oh, hedging's for gardeners. I'm not doing that. I believe in this game.
A ballsy move. I would have hedged. I'm not gonna lie. I definitely would have. But dude, good for you. It's like the dream scenario, right? You put a lot of money on your team and they go out and win the championship. It's like perfect year
Yeah,
as of right now.
and what's even a crazier bet? There was this former MLB player. His name's Trevor Plouffe. He bet the Braves would beat the Astros in Game 6 back in March. He put $1,000 down. He won 25.6 million.
Holy crap.
Yeah, so it's 4,200 is nice, but 25.6 million makes that look
Yeah,
like
that's insane. I'll give him that. That's crazy.
yeah, I
Good
mean
for
that's just
him.
shout. That is just he had to be from the future or something. Like like
Yeah, that does seem like it, right? Like
there's no way he just knew that. Like I don't
well,
know.
I saw speaking of the thing, there was a tweet I saw on Twitter of some dude that tweeted back in 2016. I think it was, maybe it was 2017. Like when we graduate college, or maybe it was high school. I don't know. I think it was college. The Braves are winning the World Series against the Astros in game 6.
I mean, hey, it's a good shot. I like
And it's like, what? To me, I'm a little bit skeptical, but he like quote tweeted the tweet or whatever.
mm. I mean, it's true. I like back then when the Braves they were doing the rebuilding thing. Everybody knew they were going to eventually be good, and they've been good the last 4 years. It just took them 4 years to get to this point, and with the probably the most least talented team they've had, it's just
The
that's
most least talented team they
yeah
have?
yeah that's just how sports works though. Like I think like you just got a group of guys that just went out there and they were they knew how to win, and that's what they did. Because like honestly, dude, like now looking back at it, like as a fan and watching the games, I'm standing up for every pitch and getting into it. But if you look back at that playoff run by the Braves, they didn't face a single elimination game, and they beat the shit out of some teams. Like they just own teams. So nice to see.
Yeah, I listen, once again, good for you. I imagine you're going to Vegas pretty soon to cash in that bet, but let's get into college football. And there was definitely like the game of the week last week, and I hope you tuned in because it was a wild one. This was easily one of the best football games of the season, in my opinion. And that was the Michigan State Spartans beating the Michigan Wolverines 37-33 in an absolute thriller because I mean Michigan was up for a good amount of that game. They were the team in the lead. They got off to that early hot start. Um First off, like hats off to Michigan because they didn't necessarily deserve to lose this game. Andrell Anthony made a couple of big plays. The Michigan quarterback, Cade McNamara, looked really good.
Hmm.
It seems like finally, I'm pretty sure I said it last episode of the episode or 2 episodes ago. I was like, I didn't buy into Michigan coming in, but this they may actually have a quarterback now, and the kid's young, so like this could easily be like a Michigan team to watch out for in the future. But dude, star of the show, Kenneth Walker for Michigan State, the running back.
Yeah,
Five
went off.
touchdowns, Dude, he had 23 carries for 197 yards. I said it on the Dynasty Pod. I thought that he had like 400 yards. If you didn't tell me the stats, I was gonna be like, yeah, he probably had 380 yards. This guy went absolutely absurd and led this Michigan State team to a win.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Kenneth Walker, that game alone put him like he was already in the Heisman contention, but I think that could have jump started him to winning the whole damn thing. And they don't win the game without him. I about that game, it was just kind of crazy to see because it was where Michigan had total control of that game. It seemed like, and they were up a couple scores at halftime, and then here comes Michigan State roaring back. You get a couple turnovers, and then they capitalize on it. Um, I think that does a lot of good when you got the home field too. Uh, When Michigan and Michigan State are both good and respectable teams, that game is always, always really close and goes down to the wire. If you remember a couple years ago, that Michigan mess up with the punt. I
Yeah.
guess Michigan, whenever they play Michigan State, just has a tough time just finishing the game.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I really it's tough to put in words how Michigan State even won the game, to be honest, because I'm watching that game and it just felt like after the first half that Michigan had total control of the game and that it was really going to take some big plays for Michigan State to come back in. Um, but they eventually did. I mean, they were down 2 scores for a healthy chunk of that game, and they were able
Mhm.
to come back. And come fourth quarter, they had a ton of momentum. And dude, that running back was just going absolutely crazy. So, other big game from the Big Ten, the Ohio State Buckeyes beat Penn State 33-24. This game was pretty close for a while. Um, I feel like the scoreline doesn't really do it justice this football game. Um, I think for me, the guy that was great was Travion Henderson, this Ohio State running back. I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure he's a true freshman. This dude is a stud. He's an absolute beast. He's running all, and this is a good Penn State defense. This is a Penn State defense. This is very talented. That has a bunch of NFL caliber players starting on it. And dude, this guy's a freshman. It looks like he's going to be leading Ohio State for a while.
Yeah, he's we talked about him on previous podcasts before. Like, you saw like his big playmaking ability even in week one against Minnesota when he caught a big pass and took it like 80 yards to the house. Again, Ohio State's offense is just a perfect fit for anyone, but like he's able to create so much room and just his second level, he's able to really just accelerate and score the ball. So for them to have like, of course, those receiver weapons and CJ Stroud looking very well, to tack on him. I mean, Ohio State's offense is always going to be good, but they're pretty lethal right now.
Yeah, this offense, they did what they needed to do, right? For Ohio State to win, and they were expected to win. The game was a little bit closer than Vegas would have thought. I'm pretty sure that was like a 15-point spread. It ended up being maybe 18 points, somewhere in
I think
the
it's around
three
18.
score range.
Yeah,
So Penn State did a really good job of just hanging in there for a while.
you had a
But
game
you're right.
before.
Just Penn State is not that kind of team right now that seems like is going to go out there and put up 35 points against a halfway decent defense.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to.
And that's what Ohio State does, right? They're going to be living in this game around that 33, 35, 38 point range with upside. Um that's just a tough offense to stop.
Mhm.
So, last big game for me of this conference, Wisconsin beat Iowa 27-7. Dude, low key, this has been a nice little turnaround for Wisconsin. They control their own destiny. It's gonna seem like it's gonna come down to the Wisconsin Minnesota showdown late in the season. It's either this week or next week that game, and they've turned around. And on the contrary, like Iowa, dude, this offense looks horrible. They can't move the ball at all. They had one drive where they scored points. Other than that, It's just punt and turnover city.
Yeah. I mean, this Iowa offense was always a little suspect because, like, can you score on your own if your defense can't create turnovers, and put you in good field position? And clearly they can't. They can't move the ball worth a lick. Now, Wisconsin's defense has been like their strong point all year, and reason why they've been in some games, especially early in the year when their offense didn't get going. But yeah, this Wisconsin does control their own destiny now in the Big Ten West or whatever division they play in because if they win out or they keep on playing good ball, they're going to be playing in the championship.
Yeah, so let's just get into the conference standings as they go right now. So the Big Ten East, Ohio State's at the top at 5-0. They play Michigan State, who's also 5-0, and then Michigan kind of just hanging around hoping people lose at 4-1.
Hmm.
I mean, Ohio State's clearly the favorite here over Michigan State. Do you see anything wild happening? Or is it
Uh,
or is it just Ohio State's going to be in the final?
I well, I don't want to count out Michigan State just yet, but I still think if Michigan State would have to beat Ohio State, they would have to play like a perfect game. I know they're ranked 3 right now and they're in the top 4, but it's still a feel to them that we haven't seen you here in a while, and Ohio State's in this situation every year. So I think Michigan State. I don't know if they play at Ohio State or they play at Michigan State, but they would have to play a near perfect game in my eyes to beat Ohio State. But Ohio State's beatable. Like Oregon proved that. So this isn't like a dominant Ohio State team. You still beat them at the end of the day, but I still think it's their road now for the other side of the division. It's going to come down to Minnesota, Wisconsin when they play, and winner of that game will take on Ohio State or Michigan State, I believe, because Purdue's out, Iowa sucks. Like it's over.
Yeah, I don't see any upsets happening. I just looked. Ohio State's going to be home in that game. Like you said, Ohio State's been there before, but the big factor to me is that they're rolling, right? If you erase that Oregon game from memory, this is everyone's just saying, "Oh, well, Ohio State's still here. Ohio State's still nasty." It's an unfortunate game against Oregon. I think the coaches lost it just as much as some of the players did, but whatever they have done, I mean, CJ Stroud looks to be like playing really well. The offense in general is just lethal in all phases. The defense seems to be good enough. It's definitely not as elite as we've seen Ohio State be, but it's not like that defense is bad.
Hmm.
So I don't see any upsets happening. Michigan, I like this Michigan State team. I'm going to be rooting for them. I don't see it happening. And on the other side, man, I don't really know what's going to happen here because I don't believe in Wisconsin still. Dude,
Yeah,
they're
I mean, their offense is still a
yeah,
question.
it's not like Iowa. Come on, you just played right into Wisconsin's hands. You have to be. I mean, I know they have a good defense, Wisconsin, but you just have to not turn the ball over and say, okay, we're going to put up 24 points. Go ahead. If you could put up over 24 points, you can beat us. But if we like that's the magic number. It may not even be 24 to be honest. I might be giving them a little bit too much credit. But I think no matter what team you are, if you hit 24, you are winning, barring any crazy turnover, kick return for touchdown kind of plays. And that kind of leads us in. Dude, Minnesota, you think that they're the team that you would put your money on, or Wisconsin, or one of these Purdue's Iowas at the back end?
I'm taking Purdue and Iowa out of it. Purdue because like Purdue's great win is against Iowa, right? Well, now we've seen Iowa being frauds. I don't see Purdue having the talent to keep up with these other two schools. Um, if I had to put my money on anyone, it's tough because it is only between Minnesota and Wisconsin. It's Wisconsin would be the lean right here because you would think they're the better team, but again, like if their offense stalls and can't score, and Minnesota has a better offense, then maybe they can move the ball around. So I'm gonna go on a limb. I'm gonna say Minnesota is going to get it done this year and win the division?
I'm just gonna go Wisconsin, just simply because they're hot right now. I still don't believe in them, but I think that they're gonna have enough to win this next bunch of games and get in there to get smoked by Ohio State.
Mm.
Okay, let's go into the ACC real quick. Miami with the huge upset over Pittsburgh, so the ACC is still an absolute clown fiesta. Um, well, I mean, aside from Wake Forest has been getting it done. So shout out Wake Forest. I still don't think Wake Forest is necessarily legit. I still think that Pittsburgh is the team to beat here. It's an unfortunate loss against Miami, but their quarterback, dude, what is his name? Van Dyke. I have it written down here. He's a redshirt freshman. He was
Yeah.
a beast. This guy is really good. I'm excited to see what he can do in years to come.
Yeah,
Dude,
they
he had 426 passing yards and three tutties, and against a pretty decent Pittsburgh defense. That's a pretty good defense right there.
yeah. I Miami's kind of caught fire too. Talking about like a team that is kind of underperformed, kind of like Wisconsin, and now is kind of picking up steam and throwing themselves right back into discussion with this ACC because now they have the tiebreaker over Pitt if Pitt loses one more game and Miami wins out, which the way Miami is going could be possible. But
Mhm.
again, it is the ACC,
I
and
don't think. Yeah, I'm not thinking that's going to happen. They had a couple good wins, but I don't think Miami's going to win out.
yeah, I agree. I
I
think
mean,
it's
dude, if
really
this
tough.
quarterback is throwing for 420 and three tutties every game, I mean, they got a shot. I'm more curious at the other side actually, because I understand Pitt just lost. I still think that they're the strongest team on their side, so they're going to win the Coastal. In the Atlantic, is Wake Forest just going to continue winning? Because I feel like now Wake Forest has their actual games. Like starting now and going on, it's like, okay, you have to beat actual football. Not that they haven't beat actual football teams before, but they've won some close games against the teams like Louisville. You played they played one of those games they won with an inch. Oh, I think they played BC close without Jurkovic. Um, so I still am not bought into Wake Forest. I think that NC State. I don't know about Clemson, but I think that definitely NC State is a little bit more scary in my opinion than Wake Forest right now.
Yeah, it's just it comes to a point like if Wake Forest offense doesn't show up one day, you know, then their defense is not going to stop anybody because their defense is not all that great. Um,
I also just wonder how a team like Clemson would match up to them if the fact that Clemson has a really good defense and that Wake Forest offense or Wake Forest defense will let anyone score on them. Like, what if Clemson can win that game relatively handily compared to a lot of these other matchups?
well, Clemson could still be kind of scary if they just ever figured out that offense,
Hmm.
but I don't think that's going to happen this year. And again, it's the ACC, but Clemson out of all these teams has the better defense. That's no doubt about it. But I don't see them putting up a fight if DJ Ukulele is not playing good because he hasn't played good
Hmm.
all season.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's go into the Big 12. West Virginia with an upset over Iowa State. Um, dude, Iowa State. It's like you finally turned it around, and now you drop the ball against West Virginia. Just kind of a season to forget for a team that was so hyped coming into the year.
Yeah, Iowa State had that good win last week or 2 weeks ago now, and then you kind of fall back under because like at that coming into this game they only had one loss in the Big 12, so you were still at play because even though Oklahoma made that quarterback change, you've seen them still struggle against Kansas or something. So they're not a front runner, and the committee agrees, put them back at 8.
Hmm.
So yeah, that kind of just takes you out of the whole spill of it. That's a really bad loss to West Virginia. West Virginia is a good spoiler team. I understand that, but you can't lose that game. Again, Iowa State just an overrated team.
All right, so the other big game that I had from this conference was Baylor beating Texas 31-24. I mean, Texas did a good job hanging around in this one, But watching this game, to me, it just felt like Baylor was easily the more physical team and just kind of the better team. They were the team that went in there, controlled the flow, controlled the pace. Their offense was really methodical. Tyquan Thornton or Thornton, whatever the hell his name is, that receiver was good as always. They have a nice little quarterback there at Baylor, and the defense did what they needed to do to hold a really powerful Texas offense to only 24 points.
Hmm. I mean, Baylor, they're sneaky good. They've been playing good ball. See, their only loss is to Oklahoma State, and they could have made more plays offensively or didn't go for it on that 4th and 2 at like their own 30. Then maybe they would still be undefeated. And we're talking about them being in the top 10. I still like Baylor though because like their defense is really good. They come and show up to play every day. So when Oklahoma and Baylor match up, I don't know when that is, or even if they do play against each other this year. But I think that would be a really good game, and Baylor has a chance of winning that game easily because I'm still not exactly sold on Oklahoma.
I'll give you that Baylor is physical. That was the thing that was definitely apparent to me, especially compared to when Texas and Oklahoma played. When Texas and Oklahoma played, it was just fireworks. Team were making big plays, and you saw the big play potential of those offenses, right? But
Hmm.
when I watched Baylor, I watched a team that just controlled Texas. I don't get me wrong, Texas had a couple of big plays here and there and some good plays, but they kind of went in there and bullied them a little bit
Yeah.
into a win, and that was the way that they won. And maybe you're right. Maybe they can take out Oklahoma. I don't think so, though. We can get into the conference outlook here. To me, I just think that Oklahoma is kind of back to what we thought they were going to be. The offense is figured out under this new quarterback. Um, I just think it's going to be kind of the same old story where yeah, maybe Baylor can hang around, but when push comes to shove, it's going to be Oklahoma at the top.
Yeah. I think Oklahoma's easily the favorite unless Baylor can knock them
Oh
off.
yeah, I wonder what
But
the gambling odds are for that because I would have just off the top of my head, I think I'd put Oklahoma to win the conference at like minus 350.
yeah, something like that. But don't count Oklahoma State out too. They had the one loss, but if they could beat Oklahoma, they have that tiebreaker over Baylor.
Hmm.
So, they're still at play. And again, Oklahoma State's a rivalry game, so anything can happen. Oklahoma State doesn't have a bad team. And I'm telling you right now, Oklahoma, if you catch them on a week like they played against Kansas, Oklahoma State's a little bit better than Kansas. So, I mean, you could
Didn't
be
they just kick the shit out of them this week, like 55-3?
yeah, so like Oklahoma could be in trouble if they don't come to play one day, and which you've seen that's very it could happen because they've been doing it like in a majority of their games this year and just been squeaking around wins. It's a little less now with the quarterback change, but still, like even if you go back to that Kansas game, I mean, they're losing 10-0 at half. You didn't even score a point against Kansas at half.
Yeah, it's definitely nerve. I'll give you that. Let's go into the SEC though. So Auburn beat Ole Miss. I'm not gonna. Ole Miss was the underdog there, so it wasn't necessarily a surprise. It was a close game. Ole Miss was missing a ton of their receivers. I think they were missing all three of their top three receivers. So, um, that's just tough to win on the road when you're missing so many guys against a good Auburn team.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
I just think it was a little bit of a bad matchup for Ole Miss because like Ole Miss, we know they're not going to be this 12-0 or 11-1 team. Like they're going to run into a little bit of trouble here against some of these teams. And Auburn, like they look good. They really turned a corner. I think. Their only SEC loss was against UGA, and UGA's just beating up on everybody, right?
mhm.
So Auburn's defense is still in play, where you limit Ole Miss and Matt Corral in this high-powered offense, and then Bo Nix is playing good ball, and then alongside of Tank Bigsby going off, like you got a good team, and Auburn's still in this thing. They really are.
Yeah, Tank Bigsby, especially early in the game, was ripping off a couple of big runs that gave Auburn some early momentum to kind of just take the lead and carry it on throughout the entire game. Um, so yeah, outside of that, I'll agree with you there. I think it was kind of a bad matchup. That's the problem with Ole Miss is that right now it just they don't have a complete team, and those injuries were just enough to throw them off on the road. And Auburn's been playing well.
Yep.
Bo Nix has been playing well outside of that one game. Speaking of Georgia, though, they destroyed Florida. The quarterback change did not work.
Yeah.
Um, I remember watching the game. I feel like he threw like 1,000 picks or had like 1,000 turnovers. Especially in the first half, it just felt like Florida kept turning over the football. But just no real surprise. Georgia continues to rock people.
Yeah, this is what I got out when I saw a little bit of this game is that Florida looks unmotivated. Like they just don't want to play or something. It's kind of like they're going through the motions. Is that a result of Dan Mullen? Maybe. Maybe he's not the guy, Like a big part of like you had a great year last year, no doubt, but you got to continue that success from recruiting and stuff. And Florida's taking a hit in recruiting. They're not even top 15. They're ranked 21 right now, while your big time rival UGA is number one every year. So I think Florida might be in a world of hurt coming because like this has been a very letdown season, especially when you played Bama like week 3 or 4 and it was a close game. You had a chance to win that game. Like if you would have told me they were sitting, what are they, 4-5 now, 4-4? It's a complete turnaround. What I thought after that Alabama game.
One of the things that must be frustrating for Florida is the fact that if you're one of their defensive players, the turnovers the past couple of games have just been just unbearable. Your defense, right? You guys work really hard to get a stop, and then you're back on the field, and then you get a stop, and then you're back on the field. And then all of a sudden you let up a touchdown. It's okay. Then our offense punt 3 and out. Then we're back on the field. It's just the defense is on the field the whole game, and their front seven is really getting punished for it. It seems like. I still think the Florida secondary is really good, but up front in the middle of the field, they're kind of just getting beat up.
Hmm.
So I'll look at the SEC. Obviously, UGA's in it. I'm pretty sure you said before the episode they already clinched.
Yeah, they already clinched. They're going.
No surprise there. So you were also saying before the episode that I disagreed with.
Oh,
Auburn in play still against Bama for the
yeah.
West.
Auburn's still very in this.
I don't buy it. I think that Bama's just going to rock them. Even if Bama's on the road, I just believe in that team too much. I think that Auburn, and I just think that Auburn at the end of the day are frauds again. I don't think this team is as good as that they need to be, and even some of their recent years to take out the Bama team.
Well, my thing with Bama is I don't think this team is as good as people are giving credit to it. Like, are they a top 4 team in the country? Yeah, but like this isn't a Bama team we're accustomed to. Their best win was when they blew out Ole Miss, right? Okay. Other than that, you played a close game against Florida. You beat up Miami, but Miami wasn't really going at the time as week 1. And also, like look at that Tennessee game. That was a game in the fourth quarter. So Auburn looks like they're kind of turning the corner to me where if that game's at home, it's a rivalry game and Auburn has the confidence of knowing they can beat Bama and they've done it before. I don't know. It could happen. I can see it.
Being
Bo
Auburn being
Nix,
at home is massive. I think that that is absolutely huge for them and gives them an actual shot. But I just don't think it's going to happen. I think the
I mean,
Bama's too good still.
Bo Nix has beaten Bama before. He can do it again. So, it just comes down to like who makes more plays in that game because I think it's gonna be closer. It, the Texas A&M loss, like you look at it, like Bama kind of beat themselves to it, right? And A&M just kind of like capitalized on mistakes. If Bama gets like that again, Auburn has the tools to where they can capitalize just as well.
I just don't think that'll happen. Let's move on to the Pac 12. So Utah destroys UCLA. and a huge win for Utah. That is absolutely massive win for Utah. I
Yeah.
thought UCLA would have kept the game closer. Honestly, I didn't watch the game. I'm not. Did you catch any of this?
No, I did not.
So massive win for Utah nonetheless. Washington State beat Arizona State. Arizona State, you talk about a team that's just shot themselves in the foot with a huge opportunity to come out on their side and play Oregon in the final.
Yeah, not looking like it now.
Dude, it's just everything has just changed since they were up 21-7 at halftime against Utah. That was the old Arizona State, the dangerous one, and a different, new, shittier Arizona State has reared its ugly head from the second half on.
Yeah. It kind of like they're showing signs of what they kind of like played like last year, even though they only played like 3 games, but they're kind of just chunky. They're not playing like fluid like they were in like games earlier this year, or like those games when they beat UCLA. Just complete 180. That's just the Pac-12 for you, though. Like again, this conference has just been steady of where like everybody can beat you any week. I feel, and you're just not going to get consistent play out of any of these teams because like Utah could easily lose next week, whoever they're playing.
Yeah, the thing is though is that like kind of like you said coming into the season, this is just a seasoned good Utah team that is really physical right now. They're beating people up front, which is winning them football games.
Yeah, Utah's slept on every year, and they're in the running every year. They're just, they're a good program. They
Yeah,
get
they're a
the
good
job done.
program and they're hot right now. I guess lastly, Oregon State loses to Cal. That is a really rough loss for them there because they essentially had to be perfect from here on out to dethrone Florida, not Florida, Oregon in the North. Yeah, couldn't have gotten that one more wrong. Florida to Oregon. Um, and then the South, I think it's just Utah, man. Like they beat ASU, which was an absolutely massive game for them. They
Mhm.
come out here and beat UCLA. I think that they're on the road to being in the final.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. Utah's definitely in the driving seat, especially in their side of the division because they already have the game on ASU. So like ASU is only 1 game back, but technically they're really two because of the tiebreaker. Unless Utah like just completely falls off, I don't see that happening.
Hmm.
On the other side, though, like you look at the Oregon State loss, it's a bad loss, and it sucks that it's Washington State because like Washington State kind of came out of nowhere this year and put themselves in contention in the Pac-12, but they're not completely out of it because if Oregon State does win out, and that includes a win against Oregon, that would more likely mean them and Oregon would have the same record. Then all you need is just Washington State to lose one conference game,
Hmm.
but
All
that's
right.
really hard.
All right, let's get into the next thing though, because I'm excited to talk about this. The Maxwell Award semifinalist list. I think it came out today. The day that we are recording this is Wednesday. Um,
Wednesday, my
I'm
dude.
going to go through the list. It's a whole lot of quarterbacks, a couple of running backs, and one receiver who's not going to win it. Bryce Young, quarterback out of Alabama. Kenny Pickett, quarterback out of Pittsburgh. Matt Corral, quarterback out of Ole Miss. CJ Stroud, quarterback out of Ohio State. Sam Hartman, the Wake Forest quarterback. Desmond Ritter, quarterback out of Cincinnati. Tanner Mordecai, quarterback out of SMU. Grayson McCall, quarterback out of Coastal Carolina. Brennan Armstrong, quarterback out of Virginia. Malik Willis, quarterback out of Liberty. Kenneth Walker, Michigan State running back we talked about earlier. Bijan Robinson, running back out of Texas. Sean Tucker, the running back out of Syracuse. Brees Hall, the running back out of Iowa State. And lastly, Drake London, the wide receiver out of USC, who recently got injured. So I mean, it's almost assured that he's not going to win it then.
Yeah.
Um, I guess the question right now is who are you thinking? Mr. I'm going to pick the Braves in the World Series before the season. You seem to have the stroke of luck. Who are you taking here?
I mean, ooh. I think it's between 4 guys, honestly. I think it's the top 4 guys you name: Bryce Young, Kenny Pickett, Matt Corral, CJ Stroud. And if it was done tomorrow, Matt Corral would probably win it. Um, but Kenny Pickett's looked well. He coming in last week, he only threw one pick, but Matt Corral is throwing less picks too. The CJ Stroud's really turned it on. Bryce Young's just played very well all season. If I had to pick a guy, I'm just going to go with the favorite. I'm going to say it's Matt Corral. It's just been a weird season where you don't have really a front runner for this, but also like don't count on the running backs because I think this is a pretty heavy quarterback um, winning award unless like you got something like last year with Devontae Smith is just going crazy. Kenneth Walker, if he keeps on playing like that, if he does that against like Ohio State, he'll definitely be in the mix. Bijan Robinson's putting up great numbers, but I don't know if they take team success in there because Texas, like if they ended the game after the first quarter, it'd be the best team in the country.
Yeah. I'm gonna go. I agree, Matt Corral. I'm gonna go Kenny Pickett though. I think that
He would be my second pick. Like
the thing is that when you watch Kenny Pickett, it's just like that's when you start to really like him more.
yeah, no.
So I'm gonna go with him. But I mean Kenneth Walker, if he does another 5 touchdown performance.
Yeah, who knows? If he just keeps going off. I mean, he's had a great season.
Oh, and for you, any surprise names on here?
No, because like Grayson McCall and Malik Willis, you knew they would be on there because they're really great ball players. They just play for smaller schools, and they're not going to win it just because they play for smaller schools, right? I would have to probably say Sam Hartman from Wake Forest. That's a shock, but I think it's only a shock because coming into the season, you didn't really know about him until Wake Forest is 7-0 and
Hmm.
sitting on top of the ACC.
I think for me, I would say Sean Tucker, the running back out of Syracuse. I like him. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to be on here. It's just did not think that he would be a semifinalist, to be completely honest. So that's good to see for the young running back out of Syracuse.
Hmm.
All right, let's get into the NFL. So first, the biggest news in the NFL. This is like a very news-filled week in the NFL. NFL trade deadline. I guess the trade deadline disappointed, but the news stories did not.
Yeah.
Henry Ruggs is easily the biggest one. So he turned. There was like a whole thing on Twitter initially where it's like, "Oh, did Henry Ruggs just get in a car accident?" And you had like a whole slew of people saying like, "No, no, like they're only saying that because it looks like his car." Well, it turns out Henry Ruggs did get in a car accident, a major one, a fatal car accident where he actually killed someone. It was someone who was 23 years old. He was street racing
Yeah.
and intoxicated and had a loaded gun in his car.
Wow. I
Yeah,
didn't know a loaded gun.
um, yeah, just holy crap. So he's looking like he's gonna face jail time.
Oh,
People on Twitter were saying anywhere from 2 to 20 years. I mean, that's just like such a wide range. Like what?
yeah. I don't know. It 220.
Crazy though, absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I saw like how fast he was going. Apparently, he was going 150 miles per hour.
156.
156. His BAC was at a whopping point 0.16. Like I wonder if if he even remembers getting behind the wheel at that point. I mean, ooh, I, that is some depressing news, honestly.
I just, dude, come on, man.
Like you're in Vegas, you have so much money, you can't take an Uber. Like if you're coming out of a casino or whatever, there's Ubers and taxis right there waiting for you. You just got to stand in line.
yeah, it's just crazy, man. That's a crazy situation. And dude, the Raiders, what the fuck is going on in Las Vegas?
It's
Um,
Vegas.
yeah, sadly for them, what happens in Vegas does not stay in Vegas.
Yeah, no.
So NFL trade deadline news. The biggest trade was Von Miller got traded to the Rams for the Rams' second and third round picks. I think this is a pretty win-win trade, to be completely honest, because Von Miller's on the last year of his contract, probably wasn't going to get re-signed by the Broncos, so they shop him out. They get a 2 and a 3. So like pretty damn good return. 2 day 2 picks for a guy who he's like a half season rental almost, like a Super Bowl
Yeah.
run rental. And then also for the Rams, like you get a stud pass rusher to add to your already ridiculous pass rush. And you never know if, depending on what happens this year, if you're able to keep him around for maybe another season or something on a rental, and you keep the band back together, and the Rams just landed like a nasty little play for like the next 2 years. But even so, huge for their run this year.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like wondering that defense. I'm gonna have to tune in this week and watch the Rams because Aaron Donald has to face like three guys every time he rushes a passer. So Von Miller's only getting one on one. I That's just gonna wreak havoc. I mean,
What do you do? What do you do if you're the offensive line coach? Like,
shit your pants.
listen, guys.
Just
um,
all right, like time to man up. Like,
did everyone get your box of Wheaties? Like,
because they're coming. But good for Von Miller. He's at a point in his career where he would like to be on a contender, and the Rams are. They have to be like one of the more aggressive teams in the NFL. Every year, it seems like they make a big move to like if it's Jalen Ramsey, now it's Von Miller. Now they have three top tier players on that defense. I mean, they're going all in for it, right? They know this is probably their best team they've had since that Super Bowl run with Goff, and that this team is probably better than that. So I don't know. They're gonna be they're interested. You took them to win the Super Bowl, right?
yes, I did.
Okay, so this is a huge move for you. Barring
Rams Bills was my Super Bowl, and I mean, as of right now, both of those teams are looking really good.
yeah.
So I'll take it. I usually go a little bit too out there, I think, with the Super Bowl picks. Um,
I don't think that was too out there.
no, yeah, like that's why I was saying, like this year, I
Oh,
think I
okay.
dialed it back a little bit, and
Yeah, yeah.
it's working out. Like, I mean, it's also like last year. It's not fun to say, "Oh, well, the Chiefs are gonna win it," which obviously they didn't, but they were in there.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
so that's not fun to be like, "Oh yeah, the team that just won is gonna win it again." But I
Yeah.
guess it's better to be right than have fun. OBJ. Okay, so actually, before we get into OBJ, no other real moves. Deshaun Watson was not traded. Apparently, it was surprise, surprise because of all the pending allegations that the Dolphins decided not to make a move. And to be honest, I think it's a smart move by the Dolphins. I
Yeah.
wouldn't give up anything until I know he can play.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
honestly, if the Texans or Deshaun Watson, like I feel like if they really wanted to get him dealt, they should just have him suit up and play. If he like they just take one snap. Are you
Yeah.
allowed to take snaps?
I mean, wasn't he allowed to go to training camp?
Yeah,
Right.
he's allowed to go to training camp. Like, if you do that, and Goodell doesn't do anything,
But doesn't he say he didn't want to take another snap for Houston? Like he just doesn't want to play for him?
I don't know. I'm not sure he'd be able to. Um,
I don't.
I don't. This whole situation is so weird,
His
dude.
situation, I've never been able to really pinpoint what's going to happen with that. I think like that's something you just gotta let it play its course. And like I agree with the Dolphins. Like you don't like if you go all in for him, you could just be giving up like your future for him for a guy that can't even play.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a smart move by the Dolphins. I would not trade for him until we have 100% clearance. I'd rather give the extra first round picks or second round picks or whatever the hell it takes instead of trade half of it, which is still an ass ton or whatever their asking price is if you don't know. But yeah, no other major moves really for trade deadline. And we were all thinking, oh, maybe the Saints trade for a receiver. Maybe this team trades for that. Melvin Ingram got traded to the Chiefs from the Steelers, which is interesting. He's had a little bit of a resurgence here, and the Chiefs get a pass rusher that they've desperately needed. So um, I think that move has been a little bit low key. I expected it to get a little bit more buzz, but I guess the Von Miller deal has kind of overshadowed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, so OBJ, apparently Kevin Stefanski has said today that OBJ is no longer going to be on the Browns, or not that he's not going to be on the Browns, he's not going to play.
Okay.
Well, and apparently OBJ is like ready to play on Sunday. He said, "Yeah, I'm gonna play," but he's like tweeting a bunch of crap about Baker. His dad tweeted a highlight video of Baker not throwing him the ball. Apparently he's like openly disgruntled and whatnot. He was not traded though. Um, for whatever reason, he's not a bad contract, and I guess the Browns might have just not wanted to pay his contract on another team, and other teams just didn't have the cap space to move him, and maybe they just didn't want to. They didn't want to give him any draft capital, knowing that
I
maybe he
would.
would just go on waivers or and then through to free agency. So weird situation. I'm assuming right now he's going to get cut at some point. That's just too much of a distraction. You don't want your team, but I don't know what the hell is going on with OBJ.
I This is why I've never been a huge fan of him. It's always about him, you know? Like, and that happens at the receiver position. They always want the ball and should want the ball, but I, when was the last time OBJ's been good? Like had a really good, healthy season, you know? Like I if I was Stefanski, I'm like, dude, you haven't done anything for us since we traded for you. Like, you have not been productive. You have not been on the field. Like, what am I getting out of you? And now you're just gonna sit over here and cry. Now, like, I maybe it's not like Baker doesn't want to throw him the ball. I'm pretty sure Baker is a competitor. He wants to get the ball in his playmakers' hands. It's just maybe it's the timing's not right, or they don't have that chemistry. Like, I receiver and quarterback have to have that chemistry, and I find Odell is the type of player. It is very, very hard to have a chemistry with a player type like Odell.
I kind of agree with Odell to a certain extent. I understand he's being a little bit of a diva and he's gonna get all of the hate, but fact of the matter is that he wants to catch footballs and he got 2 targets last week.
Yeah, I
Baker
like.
Mayfield isn't doing his job to the fullest. I'm not gonna put all the blame on Baker because you're right. It is partly because the chemistry's not there and everything really isn't that he's not getting enough plays drawn up for him. The
And I think
chemistry is not there. He's not making plays. Everything is going wrong. Just give Odell a fresh start. And if I'm Odell, I want to go to a place where I can succeed because his name has been drawn through the mud for so long now that hey, I want to go up. I want to go to the Packers. I want to go to the Chiefs. I want to go to any place, dude. I mean, maybe this is just the homer in me saying it, but maybe even a place like Pittsburgh that I feel like is insanely receiver friendly. And we just lost Juju. We're trying to win games. Like, I don't know. If I'm him, I just want to go to a place where I can succeed so that, I start feeling good. My name isn't being drawn through the mud and I get some respect back. I want to succeed. People are saying it's selfish, but dude, you're OBJ. You know you're good. You've done it before. You want to be a difference maker. You don't want to be there just blocking every play and getting 2 targets for no catches. That's not enjoyable for him. It's not productive for the Browns. The whole situation's a mess. I understand him wanting to leave.
Yeah. I mean, I get that. He wants to play. He wants to be involved. Stefanski could definitely do a better job of getting him involved in the offense. But again, like maybe the chemistry is not there because he hasn't been on the field. Like most of the time, Baker's been there, so they haven't had that chance to really connect. I mean, you've seen Jarvis. It's just, I don't know. It's just a bad situation.
I mean,
I don't know.
Baker's
Like,
part of the reason, though. I'm like, not. He's so streaky, and right now, I think he's game managing a little bit too much. He's not out there just letting it rip. He's not confident in himself right now, and maybe it's because of all the noise, with Odell and everyone being like, "Oh, well, you need to use the receivers and this and that and the other," and it's not letting him play well. Maybe that's why he plays better with guys like Donovan Peoples Jones on the outside because he's just a dude. Like he's not Donovan Peoples Jones not looking out there and being like, "Oh, I need 10 fucking targets." Like,
it's
um,
like, oh dang, you threw me the ball.
but I think that everyone has a little bit of blame, and if it's just not working, so let's just end it. It's just done. And last thing on OBJ, obviously I'm not OBJ, and might not think like this, but at this point, it's not even about trying to get the bag anymore. like obviously you'd like to get paid somewhere, but dude, if I'm OBJ, I'm ring chasing. I like Antonio Brown kind of, right? Where,
Yeah,
at first it was about the money with the Raiders, and then to a certain extent, he just needed to go someplace like the Bucs where he can succeed. Fuck getting the money, fuck all that shit. I'm going someplace where I can win and have personal success.
yeah,
He's gotten the contract, he's made the cash. I think that that's what OBJ needs too.
yeah. I agree with that. He just needs a whole career reset, you know.
Yeah. And to go to a quarterback that like he's not gonna have to be the guy to make the quarterback, right? It's not like, oh, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna make Baker, and he needs to go to a guy where it's like, no, 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 like I'm gonna take you under my wing. I'm gonna dictate everything. You just do your job, just catch the ball,
Mm,
right? I feel like that's to a certain extent what Tom Brady did with AB, right? Dude, I know you're talented. Just follow the process, buy in, do your job, and I promise you we will win a Super Bowl. Like if
yeah,
he does that with a guy like an Aaron Rodgers or one of these good veteran quarterbacks on a competing team, who knows? But speaking of Tom Brady and the Bucks, the Saints go out there and beat the Bucks. They upset the Bucks. I mean, I'm not going to say I called it or anything, but Saints money line, baby, cashing in.
yeah. Cash it in.
I listen once again. Hats off to the Saints defense and Dennis Allen, their defensive coordinator, because I will tell you what, this has got to be every year. Like, not that they're necessarily underrated, but if you were to say who's the best defense, the Saints are not one of the first teams, it seems like, to come to mind. They'll be like 4 or 5 down the list, but no one's ever like, "Oh, Saints easily best defense." Um, Name another team that stymied the Bucs as much as the Saints have the past 2 seasons.
The Saints.
They've seemed to figure it out. Dennis Allen and them have figured. Okay, it wasn't perfect. Tom Brady still went out there and had a decent game. But you look at all the other games he's played. Clearly they've figured out something. They match up well enough to where they're the only team that's able to really shut down the Bucs. And if the offense is able to just run the ball well like they did last game and make a handful of plays, dude, this team, that's the one team, if I'm the Bucks, I do not want to play.
Yeah. Well, the Rams did a good job against the Bucks earlier this season too.
Okay, well, the Rams too, but I think that the Rams are like the favorite. So, I mean, I guess the Bucks would be, but of like all the others, right? Because to me, it's like, okay, you have the Rams and the Bucks are clearly at the top, and then I guess people are gonna put the Cardinals in there. I don't really believe in the Cardinals as much as everyone else, especially without JJ Watt now.
Yeah, that's a big loss.
So maybe you can. If I'm the Bucks, though, I like the Cardinals matchup a lot more than I do the Saints.
Yeah. It's just like the only time the Bucks ever did anything against the Saints since Brady's been there was in the playoffs, and really, if you look at it, it's because Drew Brees threw a couple picks. So if the Saints aren't they? They're top of the South right now because they beat
Yeah,
the
they're
Bucks.
5-2.
Yeah, the Saints are just like, even though they lose Drew Brees and they lost Jameis this past week, which sucks, but Sean Payton's a great coach, and like, their defense is legit. So they're going to be in these games, and you let them hang around. They're going to take advantage, and you see them pop off on a couple of these. I mean, the this year they've beaten the Bucs and the Packers, two teams that were in the NFC Championship last year.
Yeah, it's just this quarterback situation.
Is it the team that
That's the
they'll
big
go
difference
against?
maker. It's like because I'm thinking about it. I mean, the Saints are a better team than the Cardinals, but the Kyler Murray to whoever the fuck at quarterback is for the Saints difference is just so massive.
Yeah, it
Um,
is.
and Kyler Murray's a carry, but I still don't want to play the Saints regardless. Um, so maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe I'm underselling the Cardinals a little bit. And then there's the Packers too, who are interesting. that's not necessarily a super fun matchup. I mean, fuck, maybe the NFC is just really good this year.
Yeah, it kind of flip flop from last year, or it's looking like that.
Yeah, so Patriots upset the Chargers. Chargers have gone on a little bit of a slide here. Um, any main takeaways from this one? Just kind of a fluke game, or are you thinking that the Chargers are kind of more fraudulent than previously expected?
Well, they beginning of the season, they got off to that really hot start, right? It looked like their offense was going to be something to play with. Now it kind of just looks like the offense is really toned back a little bit, like it turned back a notch.
Yeah,
And
they've had a couple of annoying, like nagging sort of injuries, which has been unfortunate, but nothing. Eckler's been in the lineup, but not fully healthy. Mike Williams has been a little bit, Josh Palmer a little bit here and there, but nothing like massive, massive.
yeah, uh, I I mean I picked the Patriots as my dog of the week last week, so bang. But again, I think I
I
don't
think
know.
they had some injuries up front, though. Now I'm thinking about it. Um,
The
I'm pretty
Patriots
sure.
are good, so like you got to take them into account whenever they play. They play people tough. They really do.
Yeah.
That's like the Saints.
Oh, and Asante Samuel Jr. was hurt for a lot of that game. He was like in and out, which is unfortunate because he's been one of the better corners in football right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's the other side of the question is what are we thinking of New England here? A couple weeks ago, I think it was John U. Smith said that, hey, everyone knows this is a better football team than a 2-4 football team. Well, he was right. they're
Oh yeah,
they're
100%.
back to 500.
Yeah, 100%. It's just because out of all, it's still out of all the rookie quarterbacks, you have the quarterback that can win you games now. On top of all your free agent deals and and building up this defense, the team is good. Eh, are they good enough to knock off the Bills in the division? I don't think so, but definitely like they're still a playoff caliber team.
Yeah. So Cowboys beat the Vikings. That was a weird game where Cooper Rush goes in there, essentially does nothing for the entire game, and then has like two good drives to well, one good drive and one like massive touchdown.
Yeah,
Um,
Amari Cooper, what a catch!
so good for the Cowboys, I guess. They should not have won this game. They really
Oh
shouldn't
no,
have. The Vikings, man, dude, this is just the Vikings experience. They're gonna win games they shouldn't. They're gonna lose games that they should win. Then they're gonna get rocked by a good team, right? They're gonna look like kind of like last at the end of last season, where they just get destroyed by the Saints. You're gonna have a couple of those, and it just there's seems to be nothing you can do to stop it.
yeah, it just the Vikings are too much up in the air. They're always a question mark every week, you know. But again, this is a very winnable game because the Cowboys didn't have Dak. You know, they didn't have Dak. What are you doing? You're
Yeah,
supposed.
what are you doing, man?
This is
Embarrassing.
this is the time to beat the Cowboys. You know, but again, like came down to that last drive. Great catch by Amari Cooper. You know, that's one of the better ones we've seen this year. Great concentration, but the Cowboys, dude, 8-0 against the spread, and they're finding ways.
Man, I don't know. Justin Jefferson had a bunch of plays this game that like he could have came up with, but they were slightly overthrown. But then, and then he's banged up a little bit too. It's just, I don't know. Just the Vikings throwing the football just weren't able to do enough outside of Adam Thielen and I guess Conklin a little bit. No one really did anything.
Hmm.
So, and I mean, Dalvin Cook, he did all right. He was making some plays, Dalvin Cook, but it wasn't anything tremendous. Just not good enough from the Vikings. They're too good to be doing crap like that.
Yeah,
So the Jets come out. Speaking of backup quarterbacks coming in and getting wins, the Jets come out and beat the Bengals. Um, I had texted one of my buddies. I'm like, dude, I took the Bengals to beat the Ravens, and now the Bengals are getting a ton of credit. I thought the Bengals are overbought. Not to the fact that they would go out and lose to the backup quarterback Jets.
yeah,
What the hell? The one thing I will say, is that I thought that the Jets came out there with a good game plan and something that teams haven't really been able to do or maybe haven't tried to do against the Bengals, but they were able to get guys open in space and force them to tackle, and the Bengals didn't come up and tackle. I think part of the reason for that, and now I haven't grinded the all 22, so take this with a grain of salt, but the Bengals have been kind of going up there, forcing you to throw the ball by stacking the box and really just playing uptight and physical. You
Yeah.
know, they would get up in your face and punch you in the mouth and play some annoyingly tight man coverage. And I think the way that teams try to take advantage of that is vertically down the field. They would try to create big plays because you're seeing these corners rolled up a lot and in your face. So you're like, okay, we'll burn them deep. But they would still play two high safeties a lot of the time and roll to two high safety coverages. And you weren't really able to do a great job at creating big plays against them. Well, what the Jets kind of did is they said, okay, fuck it. We're just gonna give the ball to our running backs and our guys underneath and force you to make tackles. And they weren't able to. And I'm gonna be curious to see if teams use this similar game plan to start scoring against this Bengals defense.
Yeah, that was a big letdown. It's just anytime the Jets beat you, you're just like, damn, we just lost at the Jets, right? It's like,
Hmm.
but I I think this Jets team is better than what people give them credit for, and you got to give credit to Salo there because like they're in some of these games now. This was a pretty impressive win to me, just because they just got the doors beaten in by the
And
Patriots.
they started this game off horribly.
Oh yeah, terrible. But this is why I can't buy into the Bengals yet, right? You get an impressive win against the Ravens. You're sitting at 5-2, technically the one seed of the AFC. Then you come out and play like this against the Jets. It's like, what am I going to get last year at Bengals, or am I going to get supposedly good Bengals?
You want to know what this is? Because I comp the Bengals to the Cardinals last year.
Yeah, I like.
And this is the Cardinals lost to the Lions last year. This is they started off the season off hot, and then this is the first game in this little rut of games that they're going to get into where the offense, the big plays aren't happening as much. The defense, who started off the season brilliantly like the Cardinals did last year, starts to let up a little bit and teams start to figure out a little bit. So I'm going to be really interested to see if the Bengals are able to hold on to the momentum they had early in the season. I'm a gambling man. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm taking the Browns to beat the Bengals this week. And I think that the Bengals are going to be in for a little bit of a skid here coming up.
I could definitely see that happen. I still don't. This is a team that just maybe needs a year or two or more. But again,
I think they're a year away. I
yeah,
agree with that.
from really turning it around. But like that Cardinals comp to them, you got in that loss to the Lions. Like the Lions had Matthew Stafford. That's a little different than losing to Matt White.
Yeah, but it's still fucking Lions.
Yeah, true.
It's the Lions. Um, all right, so the Steelers, speaking of the Browns, they come out and they beat the Browns. That was a wacky game where Chris Boswell gets absolutely destroyed on a fake field goal. Isn't able to go in there and kick. The Steelers just grimy offensive performance.
Oh
The
yeah,
Pat Fryermuth, the move
yeah. How
coming
about the
up
move,
with
dude?
a huge touchdown on 4th and goal. I was going absolutely nuts for that. I fucking love the move. Um, dude, huge win for the boys. Huge win.
Yeah, that's a good win for the Steelers. Like you play in a tough division. You need to win these divisional games. You have the Ravens on bye. You got the Bengals losing. You have to win that game, right? It's not a must win for both teams, but I think it's a must win for like the Steelers more than the Browns.
Mhm.
But again, Browns is since Chubb's gone down. Look at that offense. It is just terrible. Like no, not taking anything away from the Steelers defense, because the Steelers defense is really good. But there, it's just, if you look at that game against the Chiefs and then you look at where the offense is now, it is just night and day.
Yeah, well, Chubb was playing last game, but they don't have Hunt.
Uh,
And Chubb is still, I guess, a little
he's
banged up.
banged up. He's banged up.
I mean, also one thing that I think that people aren't giving the Steelers credit for is that our run defense got a lot better. You know, initially we were great, and then we had a couple of injuries. There was that Bengals game where it's just like and the Seahawks game to a certain extent, or a lot of extent in the second half, getting bullied on the ground and giving up a lot of yards. But we seem to have figured it out. I think a large reason for that is initially the Tyson Alualu injury, our defensive tackle, was massive. He was the plug. He was super underrated and did a really great job, and it freed up Cam Hayward and TJ Watt to not have to like crash the inside on runs. But now, like, we seem to have shored that up against the Browns. That was a big test.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is that I like that Stefanski is just saying, like, Odell, I'm not playing you, because at the end of the day, just stop trying to be other teams, right? If your team has success going 3 tight end sets with Chubb, and when Donovan Peoples-Jones come back, Donovan Peoples-Jones is a single receiver, just fucking do that the entire game. Don't try to please Odell by giving him a bunch of snaps and having him on the field if it's not fucking working.
Yeah.
And it's
Not
not.
working.
Don't do that with Rashard Higgins either. At the end of the day, all this nonsense is losing you football games. So if I'm Kevin Stefanski, I am expecting him, because I like Kevin Stefanski and you do too, to put his foot down and say, fuck all the nonsense. I got the guys that want to be here. I got my guys. Everyone else who's not bought in, get the fuck out. And we're
Yeah.
going to run the team the way that wins us football games. It's not going to be sexy. It's not going to be amazing. Baker, I don't give a shit if you're Tom Brady. I don't give a shit if you're a bust. We are running the offense the way it needs to be ran. We are pounding the rock, running tight end crap, and this is what needs to happen. And the other thing too is that Baker needs to stop playing so damn
Scared.
hesitant, scared. I feel like I'm getting game manager Baker. The Baker that was doing well last year was the Baker that put his nuts on the table and just ripped it. Stop hesitating. This is going to sound a little bit assholey to say, but I feel like he's so concerned with pleasing his receivers by ensuring that he's not leading his guys into hits, which is all great and all, but he's throwing it like 2 yards behind his receiver as a result, which at the end of the day, if I'm a coach, I'd much rather you throw a pass where a guy can get hit, but he can catch it, instead of throwing a pass where you're thinking you're saving your dude from a hit, but it's completely off target.
Yeah.
Um, it's a nice thing you're trying to do, but we need to start winning games, right? We need to start completing passes.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like Baker's got to get some confidence back because he plays better when he has. He just got to tell him, hey man, like just go out there and leave it all on the field. Let it fucking rip. Like
if I'm Stefanski, what I want to do coming out next game is I want to come out with a fucking shot. Give a concept that Baker I liked from him off tape last year was just like a little freaking flood on a corner, right? Where you
mm,
have a deep corner route to a guy like a Jarvis Landry, or I think they ran it with Peoples Jones more. I'm not sure if he's going to play or not, but I'm just going to assume he is. So like you have Peoples Jones on that deeper corner, and then Jarvis Landry on a little lower flat kind of intermediate route, right? And you're just reading that corner, and if that corner hesitates at all, you rip that corner route against the corner. There's a lot of corners in there.
we like corners.
Okay, regardless, Seahawks absolutely demolished the Jags. Um, yeah, it was funny. I was joking around in the pick segment. It's like this is the you know how there's the unstoppable force meets the immovable object. Well,
Yeah.
this was the very stoppable force meets an extremely movable object. And it turns out the movable object was a lot worse than the very stoppable force. Because the Jags defense couldn't stop the Geno Smith led Seahawks. Geno Smith looked like he was crazy out there. He started off like 13 for 13 passing. DK Metcalf had a crazy touchdown where he absolutely mossed a corner.
Mhm.
Um, good win for the Seahawks to finally get this season back off track. They're going into a bye week, and it looks like they may get Russell Wilson back.
Yeah, it could save you the season right there. And maybe, you just keep on playing 500 ball until Russ gets back, and then you have a shot at it.
And I guess on the contrary, do the Jags suck?
Oh, the Jags, like this
I
is
listen. I'll come out here and say I overrated the Jags. I thought the Jags would be a much better football team than they are right now.
I thought so too. I thought like, the emergence of T-Law and some, good draft picks and with some talent on this team, they'd eventually figure it out. Clearly, like it's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's just a nightmare, man. It's rough
I,
out there for
I,
the
don't know
Jags.
how, I don't know how long. I don't think Urban Meyer's the guy. So, like, I don't know how long that's going to last as well.
It's almost like too much shit has happened
Yeah,
for
the
poor Urban Meyer.
Jaguars. Why do you have so much drama going?
Yeah, it's just
Leave that to the Cowboys or something.
smells too bad. Titans beat the Colts in overtime. Man,
See, the Titan Colts games are always kind of just
nuts.
they're always wild. They're awesome to watch.
I do really feel bad for Carson Wentz to a certain extent because the guy has come in and played really well, and he just has a couple of plays a game, and they always look terrible when he's doing this hero ball stuff, and he has the most awkward looking interceptions and fumbles, and it's like as a defense, you're just waiting for him to do one of these stupid things and capitalize and end up winning the game. And it's just, it ruins the rest of his body of work that has been actually really good.
Well, he's been playing
Sucks.
really good ball coming in. It's not like he had a bad game, but like it's just the picks. He throws some picks sometimes. You're just like, what the fuck are you doing? And you know what he reminds me of now. Now that
What?
you've really seen his career kind of playing out, just from the aspect of it, Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler, right? Like,
I think he's way more awkward than like Jay Cutler. Like at least his interceptions look natural.
yeah,
Carson Wentz, it's almost like he's playing on roller skates a lot of his interceptions. Like his feet are going all over the place. His arms are like flailing. It's just, dude, what the fuck is going on, man? What are these fumbles? What are these interceptions? Terrible timing. They look horrible. Wobblers and shit. Like the one against the 49ers where he's going for like a little shovel pass, his arm gets dinked a little bit and he just shovels it right to a defender that's like 2 yards in front of him.
I think
Oh, it's so
he
ugly.
he has to be like really unlucky or something. Like his whole career. It's just and besides like the year he almost won MVP, but I feel bad for him. The Colts are good though. That's the thing. The Colts are good. They're a good team, but what the hell? Again, though, for the Titans on the other side, what's this? 3 wins in a row against 3 really good ball clubs. Titans are moving, but they lose Derrick Henry though, which is huge.
Yeah, that is a massive loss. Dude, I don't know why Carson Wentz just kind of reminds me, when a dog tries to run on like a hardwood floor
And
and
like
like it kind of
traffic.
stays stationary for a second because it doesn't have any traction. That is the perfect way to describe how Carson Wentz plays quarterback.
Yeah, it fits.
Is that when he's going, when he's actually moving, he's fast. The dog's fast. But that 1 second of just sheer panic and just flailing and not moving is the only thing you think about.
Yeah. Ah, this is Carson Wentz. It's what you're going to get sometimes, or in this case, it's just now the Eagles are looking at it like, ooh, well, we're going to get a first round pick, and it might be a top 15.
Yeah, it's a dangerous game you play with trading your first round picks, especially for Wentz. Speaking of teams that traded for quarterbacks, I'm done with those cheesy transitions. I'm sorry, that's a bad one. But the Panthers, Panthers beat the Falcons.
Yeah, it's insane.
I apologize to the viewers for having that cheesy damn transition too often. Panthers beat the Falcons. Steed, I'll let you take this one. What are your thoughts on this one?
The score line doesn't really depict how the game went. I thought the Falcons had more than enough shots to win that game. The defense was playing well enough. Uh, Sam Darnold was nothing impressive. I can tell you that. He made a couple plays on his feet that prolonged drives that was able to get like Panthers to move the ball and keep time of possession, which they held pretty well. But on top of that, again, the Panthers defense came to play, and I think they might have underestimated how good that defense is, especially when Shaq Thompson's back. And that was Stephon Gilmore's first game, and they said, "Hey, man, we're going to throw you on Kyle Pitts." And Pitts, who's been going off the past couple of weeks, he only had like 3 catches for like 20 yards, and especially with Calvin out, and it looks like might be a remainder of the season. Who knows? Pitts is our best option, and we don't have
He's going
much.
to get the star treatment. That's the issue, is that now that people have seen, and everyone knew what he could do coming in, but now that we've seen it, and especially when you see Matt Ryan and Kyle Pitts, that connection almost single handedly beat the Dolphins on that last drive of the game. If you have a guy like a Stephon Gilmore, any stud coverage guy, he's getting the star treatment. You're saying, dude, go ahead. Cordarrelle Patterson and Mike Davis, go ahead. Let's force them to beat us. We're not letting Kyle Pitts go out there and go for a buck 55. We're shutting them down.
Yeah, it was an ugly game, and the Falcons had a really great opportunity. It's 10-6 going into half, I believe, but they had a really good chance of punching another touchdown in right before half, but Matt threw a pick and like right there around the red zone, which hurt. But again, like I don't know what was bothering Matt because like he got stepped on and he was bleeding everywhere. I mean,
Oh shit.
I looked up at the TV and his pants were just covered in blood from his hand. So maybe that had to do something with it. I just don't think he really read the route right or something like that. But again, I think you're just going to get this out of the Falcons some weeks. Like the offense has been, especially the past 3 weeks or so, they've been pretty good. Go up against a really good Panthers defense, they get stuffed. I'm not really going to take much into it because I'm not expecting much from this team, but that was a winnable game for the Falcons. And to really throw you over 500, a mark you haven't been at since 2017.
One thing I will say about the Panthers, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens in their matchup this week, is that you mentioned it earlier that Sam Darnold had a couple of good plays on it with his legs, and I actually think that that's been the big thing with Sam Darnold. Is you look at the games that the Panthers have won, and you look at the games that Sam Darnold's had success, and it's the games where he's able to make big plays, convert first downs on the ground. Surprisingly, um, with the concussion, I wonder how that impacts that aspect of his game that has really been an X factor.
Yeah. I Yeah, that was the reason why he was able to keep these drives so long. We give him like a 3rd and 8, and then we don't have anybody on him, and of course the pass rush went back to being non-existent that game, and he was just able to roll out, and he's probably not confident in making a throw because he can't, and he just rolls out and just runs for a first down, and then next thing you know, you're sitting at the 30, and they kick another field goal.
Yeah. All right, let's just string together some of these like no shitters, just the blowouts that were not really great games. First one, Bills beat the Dolphins. No real surprises there. Um, the Bills have kind of just been crapping on the Dolphins their recent matchups, and they're one of the better teams in the league. So, any thoughts from this one?
No, the Dolphins are a crapshoot right now. So, I mean, the Bills are a Super Bowl favorite. And they're just, and also, like, I think it's just a good matchup for the Bills. They just always seem to dominate them. So,
Yeah.
nothing more than that.
The Eagles kick the crap out of the Lions. I think I figured out the Eagles. Um, and this is going to be a ridiculous analogy, but the Eagles are kind of like the Bucs from last year in that they beat the teams that they are more talented than and lose to the teams that match up or are better, like more talented than they are. The problem with them compared to the Bucs is that the Bucs last year are just way better than the Eagles this year. So,
And they had Tom Brady.
like when you look at it, okay, against the Lions and against the Falcons, you can go in there and whoop up on them because you're able to match up with them, and you're just you're the better talented team. And Nick Sirianni's offense and his defense works because it feels like I'm watching a college team, to be completely honest. Um, but then when they go up against a game where there's some question marks, the Raiders and some of these other teams where they have talent, then they get rocked, and Nick Sirianni's team looks like a college team.
Yeah.
So I and then the freaking Lions, man.
That's the Lions for you, man. A lot of people thought the Lions, this was their week to win because they're playing
Yeah.
the Bills, and, couldn't be more wrong.
Yeah, one of my buddies was texting me. He's like, "Dude, like I'm feeling this is the Lions." And I said to him, because I've had these kinds of weeks before in past years where I'm like, "Dude, this is the week for the Lions. They're at home. They're coming up against a team that's struggling." You just never can put trust in the Lions until proven otherwise. You can never trust the Lions. I promised myself after one of the Lions games last year, after getting burnt by them one too many times, that I am literally going to fade them until I am forced to be proven wrong.
Yeah.
And multiple times, right? Like, I'm going to fade them and I'm never going to pick them to win.
Yeah, no, me too. They're just they play competitive sometimes and are in some of these games. Like, you look at a Ravens game or something like that, even the first half against the Packers. I they're just
They
oh,
fool you though. They fool you into being a team like the Falcons, where it's like the Falcons, you guys are going to lose games and you're going to lose winnable games and you're going to lose to bad teams sometimes. But there's going to be that one game every year, that one or two games where you just beat a team that's way better than you for no reason.
mm,
And on top of that, you win and then the Falcons end up being like a 5-win team, a 6-win team, right? I feel like that's the track that you guys are on right now. And that's what people expect the Lions to be given their performances. They are not. They just are not.
oh,
They're
they're
trash.
they're heading to the cellar. They're heading back to that 0-16, 0-17.
And speaking of trash, the Texans unsurprisingly get destroyed by the Rams. I mean, they started coming back there at the end.
They scored
Um,
22 points in the fourth.
yeah, they made it respectable, and I think they actually covered the spread, or were pretty damn close to.
They did. The spread was
That is, dude,
half.
that must suck so bad. You were up like the Rams were up like 34-0, and then just within minutes, you look back at the score and you're like, holy crap, how did the Texans just put up 22 points?
Yeah, that's tough. That's why sometimes those big spreads, man, like, you just got to stay away.
Uh, Especially with the Rams, it seems like, because that's two games now against the Lions and the Texans where they've had massive spreads and ended up boning you.
Well,
Um,
I think in the fourth quarter, like, screw it and just rest everybody.
yeah. So the Chiefs skate on by the Giants.
Oh my
Um,
god.
Ugly game, and man, the Giants just it is funny because usually I'm not the kind of guy that's like, oh, one play early in the game bones you. If Daniel Jones doesn't throw that essentially it wasn't a pick six, but it ended up being a pick for six, right?
Hmm. Yeah, they
Or
scored on that pick. But
uh,
they got the pick and then they scored on that drive.
yeah, like, dude, that just killed him. That was the game right there. If you don't have that mistake, you beat the Chiefs. That the Chiefs offense is still turnover prone, inefficient. I mean, they were able to run the ball, which was huge, and they're going to need to continue to do that. But fact of the matter is that the Giants did exactly what they needed to do to win.
Yeah,
Except like a little bit offensively, you just needed a little bit more out of that offense.
even it was a tied game, 17-17 with 7 minutes left. And Giants had the ball and they got like a nice completion. I think it was Evan Ingram or someone, whoever got called for that taunting penalty. That really like screwed him too. But I don't really see how that was a taunting. Because it was kind of
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking. That was stupid. I
Like,
think it was like the fullback.
yeah, because he was just kind of like pointing. It was a first down. What I
They've
saw.
gotten so soft with these penalties, man. Like the thing is that, and I agree with this. I saw on Twitter that someone was saying that he thinks that a lot of these younger coaches, like the McVays and whatnot, they wanted because they wanted the taunting rule. They wanted it because they thought that they could use it as an advantage to win extra games. And cool, you're looking for a way to win. But at the end of the day, I want to see taunting. I
Yeah,
like the shit talking. I like it when people when the game is chippy and people are getting in their faces. And guess what? I can guarantee you that 99.9% of the NFL fans agree with me. I want
yeah.
to see the
No.
guys getting in each other's faces and pushing each other and stuff.
Well,
It's
it's like
football.
that wasn't even taunting because, like, I just don't understand where the call came from. It makes me think, like, if this rule was apparent where Cam Newton was winning MVP, like, and he every time he got the first down, he would point and drop the ball like that. Do they call that every time?
Well, I
Like,
think he kind of touched a dude's face mask.
oh, okay. Well,
The defenders. And
wow.
I guess that there's the flag right there. It's stupid though. I hate it. And it's killing games, man. It's not good.
I
The
think that was more like the league wants they had to have the Chiefs win that game.
49ers beat the Bears. This is a weird game. The 49ers ended up winning 33-22. It did not feel like that. Now I didn't
It was a
watch
lot
the game. I only
closer
saw it
than
on
that.
Red Zone, but
Yeah, when I was looking at the score, it was a lot closer than that. The 49ers are, like, in a lot of weird games. I didn't Jimmy G, like, run for, like, 2 touchdowns or something like that?
I don't know. I saw that Justin Fields had that ridiculous running touchdown though. You see that one highlight where it was
Yeah.
absolutely absurd. Um, I listen. I don't know what to think of the Niners. It's a
I'm
weird
kinda
team.
I'm kinda
Elijah Mitchell had a good day, but he might not play this week.
yeah, I'm kinda out on the Niners. I'm not a Niners believer now, especially, like, you look at those other teams in the West. Eh.
Yeah, I agree. It's still they're still talented though. Like Brandon Ayuk at least had a couple of decent plays the last game. I don't know. I still like Shanny. I don't know. I don't know what to think about the Niners and the Bears. They just suck. You know that Nagy's getting canned.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
happening.
it's coming. He didn't
Yeah,
even coach
it's
this
happening
game.
soon.
He had COVID.
Yeah, but it's just this team fucking sucks.
Oh, yeah, they're terrible.
I think you know that at the end of this year they're just gonna clean house. It's just
100
experiment failed.
100%.
And then the last game we're gonna talk about, the Broncos beat the Washington football team in a ridiculous game. This was a snoozer. Um, Absolute snoozer. And what was crazy is that at the very end of the game, Melvin Gordon, when the Broncos were trying to ice the game, just run the clock out, they could have ran it down either out or down to like 5 seconds or something. That he fumbled, which gave the Washington football team another chance to score. And the Washington football team and Taylor Heineke just like did nothing. They got like a holding penalty and then a sack and then two incompletions and the game was over. It's like, dude, what the fuck? Um, the Broncos defense is legit, and they didn't have Von Miller that last game, but they were still doing some stuff. They still had some dudes getting pressure. Patrick Surtain looks like a beast. He was doing really well against Terry McLaurin.
Yeah,
Um,
Terry didn't do anything that game.
I mean that Broncos defense, like everyone's gonna now sleep on this team for losing.
Von
But
Miller.
yeah, Von Miller, but that group is still really good and very well coached.
Yeah, I mean, Vic Fangio is not gonna have a bad defense.
So, and then the Washington football team offense still is just so trash.
Oh, it's so bad, and it hurts them too because they can't run the ball. And Antonio Gibson's been banged up. Like they really need this bye week just to heal people and see if they can get back on track. But the thing is, the NFC East is not like years past. I mean, Cowboys won what 6 in a row now, so I don't know. It might be. I guess that like they're more looking to play for a wild card if they go on a run.
Yeah, and for some reason the Giants just beat them. All right. So with that being said, we can kind of get into some of the games we're looking forward to next week. Um, so I'm looking at the NFL schedule here. Browns Bengals is definitely a game that I've circled. I'm going to be probably picking the Browns in that one, so I'm going to be interested to see what the Brownies can do there.
Yeah, Browns need that win to come back right here. That'd be a huge win. The Bengals need a win to get back on track after that bad Jets loss, but I think that's a must win for the Browns.
Cardinals Niners is interesting. I saw that the spread on that game it opened the 49ers were like 2-point dogs, and now that it's essentially a pick 'em spread. I think they're only a one
Really?
point dog now.
Is that
Um,
because TJ Watt not playing or like
I don't know. I guess that people have a similar outlook on the Cardinals. Not a similar outlook. They're just fading the Cardinals. I got confused there.
but like the
Um,
Cardinals they always play the 49ers tough.
I don't know, but I think the public is wrong on that one, dude. I would think that the line would be moving towards the Cardinals.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what the line becomes in the Chiefs Packers game now that Aaron Rodgers has been ruled out on top of all the other injuries. Like, let's see what Jordan Love can do. So that's going to be an interesting one
Yeah,
because he finally gets to play.
yeah, that is. That'll be interesting. Is Devontae out still? COVID?
I have no idea. I don't think so though.
Okay.
Titans Rams should be a good one, but no Derrick Henry means that the Titans are being slept on again. That's like a 7.5 point spread right now.
Hmm.
Bears Steelers Monday night. I mean, I'm obviously going to be tuning into that one. But other than that, dude, this is a weird board this week. I'm not gonna lie. This is just like a lot of really weird games and some funky divisional games going on too.
Yeah, you
Like
got
Falcons Saints is always a really weird game. Like the Saints did well against you guys last year, but prior to that, you guys had kind of matched up all right to the Saints, it felt like.
even last year we were in those games until like, you know, mid fourth quarter.
For some reason, you guys just can't avoid Taysom Hill because it looks like Taysom Hill might be the starter, and
And
he's
the thing is, he's going to go off again, and people are like, "Well, Taysom Hill's the quarterback," and it's like, "Damn it, dude! Like he's only had success against the Falcons."
yeah. Sean Payton's just keeping Taysom Hill around to play the Falcons.
I will probably get blown out.
Which is funny because that's actually great because historically speaking, the Falcons have actually done a really good job at mitigating Alvin Kamara's impact on the game. So Taysom Hill giving them that added element on the ground is actually really massive against the Falcons,
Yeah,
which is like surprising, right? You just wouldn't think of that. Didn't I'm pretty sure Alvin Kamara scored his first touchdown against the Falcons last season.
yeah. Since he's been with the Saints, yeah,
Which is like, what? Like the Falcons?
that's like his fourth or fifth year in the league. Like,
Yeah, exactly. But dude,
I
weird matchups next week.
Dion matches up well for that.
And Mr. Thursday night, what are you thinking about that Colts Jets game tomorrow?
I mean, it's kind of tough not to take the Colts, right?
Yeah, I think that the Colts are going to wallop the Jets, but it's still a short week, right? Short week is just coin flips sometimes.
Well, like it's just Matt White went off, but like, can he do it against Colts defense? And
I don't think so. I'm going to say no.
I feel like the Colts can just even with their offense being shaky, can still win that game like 27-10 or
Well,
something.
here's part of the problem too. If they're going to roll out with the same game plan they did against the Bengals, I know for a fact the Colts can fucking tackle. Those linebackers, like that's the one thing you don't want them to do is test those guys to tackle in open space because
Yeah,
they will. They definitely will. Um, yeah, that's a very physical Colts defense. I do not like this matchup for the Jets. I think that they're going to get their asses kicked.
yeah. I was kind of leaning that way too.
But once again, Thursday night. Sometimes you just gotta throw all the cards out the window and say it's a short week, no practice. Like,
Yeah, but it's the Jets.
yeah, yeah, I agree. Raiders Giants, like how much clown fiesta can the Raiders take before they implode?
Derek Carr is just going through it right now.
It's third and Renfro right now, baby.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Oh, I like that. Little oh yeah at the same time. Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Vikings Ravens I find interesting just because, dude, if there's a Vikings game, I'm gonna watch. You like that?
You got to watch the Vikings game. They're too entertaining.
It's just they are the reason why NFL is reality TV is
Yeah.
because they're like the Snooki of the NFL.
Okay. Nice
If that
comp.
makes any sense.
Nice
Is
comp.
that a good comp? Is that a good comp? Just a wild card.
Yeah. Well, you never know what you're gonna get.
You hear
Draw.
that, Vikings? You're the Snooki. That sounds like, for some reason, that sounds like an insult, you know?
It depends if you're a Jersey Shore fan or not.
Anything in college football that's going on interesting this week? I'm gonna take a look at the schedule now. Ohio State, Nebraska. Anything going on there?
It's a beat down.
Okay. Hear me out here. Navy against Notre Dame.
Oh, Navy could easily upset.
I might throw a unit on Navy. I might fucking do it.
I would not want to play Navy ever. I
I
don't
don't,
care
and
if they're
especially
0
right
12.
now, the way Navy's been hot, low key. They've been giving some teams some trouble.
Yeah, they just can't win, but like they're like 1-7, but like they're always in the game. It's that triple option, dude. I'm telling you.
hmm Auburn A&M. That should be a fun one.
Oh yeah, that's a good game.
I mean, Michigan State's gonna have to win against Purdue on the road, so I don't think that's a gimme at all
Uh,
for Michigan State.
Especially like Purdue's already had one big upset. If Purdue can get another big upset, that'd be kind of crazy.
Kentucky, Tennessee. That's interesting. I actually wonder who's favored in that game because this is like Kentucky's the favorite in terms of like they're ranked higher, but I would be really shocked to see Kentucky as the gambling favorite.
Is it at Tennessee? So like,
No, it's at Kentucky. Oh, so maybe that makes a difference there. I really hope Tennessee is a dog there because I wanna put cash on them. Oh, it's Pick'em.
so it's kind of like last week when they played Mississippi State and got rolled.
Yeah, it's a Pick'em. I really like that Tennessee team. Yeah, other than that, it's just kind of
It's another dry week.
yeah, kind of dull here. I just want like give me another Michigan State. Can we just run it back? Is that possible?
Well,
Or can we just get one of these matchups like Michigan State, Ohio State here? Actually, we can have that one. Well, can we have that next week at least? Like, what the fuck? Can we get some good damn games, please? Can we get Oklahoma Baylor this week? Can we just shove that one this week?
yeah. If it's, I guess it's not another top ranked matchup going on. It's kind of lame. Usually, you
Yeah. It's just come on, man. I want some juicers.
we play Florida this week.
Do we really? I don't see that.
It's probably because neither of us are ranked.
Hmm. Okay. So, all right. Well, I think that'll do us for me here. Or Jesus, that came out backwards. That'll
That'll do us from here.
that'll do it. I'm just gonna. That'll do it. If you made it this far, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it. Hit us with a subscribe. Hit us with a follow, dude. If you're feeling frisky, hit us with a comment.
Takes
Tell
some
us which take was the worst. Probably me saying that I think the Saints are scarier than the Cardinals. I think that goes worst take of the sode so far. I did kind of redact it a little bit after thinking it out.
Yeah. Well, you never know.
I still think the Saints defense is underrated, but thank you so much. Love you. Peace out.